Mahatma Gandhi said, if we are to reach real peace in the world, we shall begin with the children. Hi everyone, my name is Chua and welcome to our peaceful classroom.
Welcome to our sacred space.
Our peaceful classroom.
Our peaceful classroom is a sacred space where parents, educators, and other professionals come together to talk about ideas on how to promote positivity and peace within ourselves, our families, and communities. Today, we will be talking about teaching peace to kids, in particular, kindergarten students. We are joined by a kindergarten peace teacher and a very good friend of mine, Jessika Chelsey Manalo, where Teacher Chelsey has fondly called with her students. Chelsea is an MC alumna graduate of International Studies, major in International Politics, minor in Peace Studies. Her love for teaching kids began in college when she worked as summer camp counselor for children. After graduating and while working in corporate, she worked part-time as street dance coach for kids. Until finally, she pursued teaching early childhood full-time. She took up professional education to become a teacher, and she's teaching for the past 3 years, formerly in preschool, now in kindergarten. Join me and let's listen to Chelsea share her stories and tips on teaching peace to kids. Okay, so tell us how you got started teaching peace to kids.
Okay, so as you mentioned, I am a kindergarten teacher in a progressive school here in Manila. So I was supposed to be just a classroom teacher and not a specialist on any sort of topic or subject. But however, I think it was during the parents' orientation, our coordinator saw that I minored in peace studies. And apparently, in that school, they've been wanting to introduce the peace studies in preschool, in kindergarten. And they just they just weren't able to have that opportunity, I think. And seeing that I minored in peace studies, they took it as an opportunity, and she reached out to me. Our coordinator reached out to me and asked me if I could launch the peace studies in kindergarten for last school year, which is 2020-2021. So she gave me this sample curriculum, but of course it was for a physical classroom setup. So in that sample curriculum, the peace studies, they will just set up like a peace corner in a classroom. The teachers will set up a peace corner in a classroom, and like the students will go there at their own free will, like whenever they're having negative emotions, or like whenever they want to resolve a conflict. So that was a part of the sample curriculum that was given to me. So one of the biggest challenges I had was how to translate it in the online class, since for the past school year we did the classes online, and imagine it was for kindergarten, for young kids.
Oh no.
So yeah, and since the peace curriculum was like still on the process of developing, and it was still a baby, it was still a baby curriculum, we decided to just have it. Wait, hintayin ko lang yung internet ko. Yeah. So we decided to have it like just once a week. So it wasn't a regular thing at first. But then during the first semester PTC, parents were starting to share with us the things that their kids have shared with them that were part of the peace studies. So after that, we saw the impact and the importance of peace studies to kids. And so after that, we decided that for this coming school year, we're going full on for the peace studies and we're going to develop it even further.
So, what are some things that you teach in class?
So one of the things that I had to ask the kids was to make their own peace corner, because in the peace curriculum, remember, in the sample curriculum that was given to me, the first step is for the teachers to make a peace corner. So instead of me setting it up for them, it was a good opportunity also for the kids to design their own peace corner. And I just showed them samples, and then it was up to them to like talk to their parents, like, can I borrow this, for example, can I borrow this chair, I want to put it in my peace corner. So it was also an empowering activity for the kids. And I told them that, okay, so whenever we will have our peace corner, you're going to stay in that place. And all of the things that we're going to do, all of our artworks that we're going to do in whenever we will have our peace studies, you're going to post it in your peace corner. And then we also gave them like a peace kit um, at the beginning of the semester. So in that peace kit, I set up a set of yoga flashcards. I gave them a sand timer. I gave them a sand timer, and I also gave them flashcards of breathing exercises. So of course, at first it won't make sense to them, but
Yeah.
the thing is, they were given this kit, and at first they just put it in their peace corner, and we discovered things along the way.
So you use the kit in your classes basically, and that's how they learn how to use it. I'm,
Hmm.
I'm really curious with the yoga class cards. How do you do that? You teach yoga for
Yes,
for your students?
online. I do it with them. I do, believe it or not, I did it with them like online. I had my secondary device facing the other way because I can't do it here when I'm sitting in front of my laptop. So I had a secondary device, and every time we will have our peace lab, I will set up a yoga mat in a more spacious corner in my room, and then I'll have my secondary device there, and we will do it together,
Oh,
the
that's so
yoga
cool.
poses. And
Yeah.
it also gets their attention whenever we do yoga, because it's not just about, when you think about peace studies, you will think about like meditating and, calming yourself down. But for kids, it's something that they may feel sleepy about. Because it's closing your eyes and,
Yeah.
absorbing the energy around you. It won't make sense to them. But when I incorporated the yoga, it was a physical activity for them. It was a movement activity for them. So, included in the yoga poses, I also incorporated some self affirmations. So, for example, sorry I can't demo right now because I'm not at home, but for example, when you do the tree pose, like after trying to look for your balance, they will have to say, I am kind, or like, I am strong as a tree, something like that. So,
That's really beautiful.
I incorporated some self affirmations in the yoga poses. And then I also learned that, because in our peace studies, remember when, I know Carissa also took minor in peace studies, right? So if you still
Yeah.
remember our peace class, Dr. Castro. Uh, it was all about the peacekeepers around the world, like Martin Luther King, Nelson Mandela,
Yeah.
diba?
Gandhi.
Sorry.
Yeah.
hmm So I I really thought of how am I going to teach them to the kids for them to make sense. So I learned that the best way for them to grasp those people and to learn about those people is through children's books.
Oh, see, you taught the peacemakers, the children as well.
Yes, I did. And I was able to. I was also surprised, actually. So, the best way for them to learn the things that are happening around them is through books. Kids love reading and hearing stories about the world. So, I had to also find and look for the best books to share with the kids during read aloud time so that I would be able to relate the subject and activity to the story from the book. So like after the phase of them getting to know themselves, that they have feelings and trying to warm them up with yoga during the latter part of the first semester and going to the second semester, I started introducing them the peacekeepers. So I chose books. I can share with you the list of the books that I found. I really love this series, Little People, Big Dreams. I want to share it with you, but I don't have it with me right now. Uh, so the kids are really amazing when it comes to empathizing with characters. So like I remember, for example, we read the story of Rosa Parks, and then the kids were amazing. They were really curious. Like, teacher, why does she have to give up her seat in the bus? She's already sitting in there. Um, and also the story of Martin Luther King. They really empathized with him. Um, there was a part in the book where Martin Luther had to say goodbye to his friend who's white, and they were like, teacher, why can't they be friends? Why can't they be
So
friends?
cute.
Why does it have to matter? Like, just
They don't
because,
understand. Yeah.
yeah, just because of the color of their skin,
Yeah.
really? And then there was also part in the book that Martin Luther had to go to a different school, where they don't have playground, they don't have windows, and they were like, poor Martin Luther King, why did he had to go to that school? So the kids are really amazing and they really grasp things that way. So whenever you try to, maybe this is a tip already, but like whenever you try to um, read a story with a kid, you can try to take your time on a page. Like for example, in that book, you will see that this the school that Martin Luther went to was in a whole page. So they will see there the division of schools. Like this is the school that the old friend of Martin Luther was able to get to, and then this is the school that Martin Luther went to. So you can take your time in that page and try to reflect with a kid. How would you feel if you're not allowed to go to this school, to this school that has a playground? So they will reflect and they will see that Martin Luther really went through a lot, and they remember that he was asked to get out of the bus because he didn't give up his seat in the bus, and he even had to go to the side of a restaurant and cannot buy inside the restaurant. And then that's when, actually, after our subject with Martin Luther King, or after our discussion with Martin Luther King, a parent asked us Teacher, did you really teach my son who Martin Luther King is? And we were like, yes. And the mom was really amazed because she has this she has another son who's older who doesn't even know who Martin Luther is, but his kindergarten kid knows Martin Luther and what he went through. One of the things also that really helped me was incorporating it in what's happening around the world. So we had this kid, surprisingly, we had this kid who would watch the news with his parents.
So cool.
And during the Martin Luther King celebration last January, he was able to relate. Oh,
Wow.
that was when Martin Luther, yeah. And when there was an incident last January where people in the United States protested about, you know, the black community, and then the kid saw what was happening. So sorry. So the kid asked his parents, "Mom, what's happening? What's happening in the United States?" And then the mom was trying to explain to him in a kid friendly language, and then he was able to, oh, just like what happened to Martin Luther King.
Oh,
And
that's so cool.
that really surprised the mom. And yeah, kids are really amazing.
So
So
cool.
you just have to believe in them, really.
They know Martin Luther King at the age of what, 5, 6? I only
Six, yeah,
knew him as an adult
when we were in
in
college.
college. Yeah, exactly. That's so cool. So you mentioned adjusting to online classes. How did you adjust to online teaching? And perhaps share some challenges that you experienced adjusting.
Hmm. So I really had to do some trial and error, especially when it comes to, as I mentioned, doing yoga. So I had to do some technical rehearsals before class, checking if they'll be able to see me properly with my secondary device. Um, it was also a challenge for me to again translate the activities
Online.
online. So I had to think of projects for them to grasp what peace studies is. So believe it or not, we went as far as discussing Nobel Peace Prize.
That's so cute.
So we were able to discuss Alfred Nobel, and they were able to make their own peace awards using recycled materials.
Oh, that's so
And
nice.
we celebrated it all. We made a ceremony just like how the Nobel Prize awards would do it. Like we dressed up formally and we awarded our own peace awards based on our own choice. So um, they chose their own awardees, made their own criteria for the peace award,
That's
and
so fun.
they made their own peace award
So
using
once,
recycled
yeah,
materials.
so basically they give it like to their classmate, or maybe did they even give it to
Mm-hmm.
teachers?
Yes, they did.
Oh, that's so cool, and
And their
that's really nice.
parents.
Yeah,
So they gave it to their parents, some of their classmates, and some of their teachers also. So that's how I tried to incorporate the learnings in peace using projects more
yeah,
on and I really made sure that they're using recycled materials to also teach them how to care for the earth, for the nature, that you can make artworks using recycled materials.
yes. Harmony with the earth. So it's part of peace, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Harmony.
Yes.
That's really really nice. And I think that activity is very empowering to the kids. So and really brings the learning outside of the classroom to real life. So that really sank into them, and they would really appreciate that. Even the parents, of course, especially the parents, and especially if
Mm-mm.
they receive the award, it'd be so touching for the parents. Um, so sure, let's talk about some realizations, perhaps, or lessons that you've learned as a PE teacher. What are some things that you realize as you were teaching PE studies to kids?
So I grew up in a Catholic school where we were taught to like lift all our worries and negative emotions to God. And we were taught to journal and try to um, make letters to God. But it wasn't the religious side of things. Um, I had to say, I remember I had to say sorry for feeling that negative emotion, but I wasn't able to process why I felt that negative emotion, which I think is also important in trying to regulate those kinds of emotions, especially the negative emotions. And I also grew up that conflicts in kids, they were fixed by adults by just saying, okay, just say sorry to each other, hug each other already,
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I had the
remember?
same experience. Yeah,
But we weren't able to express our emotions, so that why were we hurt in the first place? What did the other kid did that made us feel that way? So we weren't able to process it with the other kid, and we were just saying sorry for the sake of fixing the conflict. I had to personally learn how to regulate those kinds of emotions after graduating college. When I was in the real world already, when I had to be more self-aware and, you know, be honest with myself. It's part of adulting in us. And I believe that it's really important, especially right now that we're going through a pandemic, for families to talk about those negative emotions and let everyone know that, like, letting their kids know that having those kinds of emotions are okay, and they have the freedom to choose how they want to express it in a non-harmful way. It can be through drawing. They can express those negative emotions through drawing, through sports, through journaling, which is actually also helpful for young kids so they can practice their writing skills. So it's an activity, a purposeful activity for kids, um, that that they can do. And you know, I realize that kids may not know anything like the abstract concepts of things, but they can feel what you're feeling. They can feel the stress at home. They can feel the worries at home.
it's just hard
And
for them to vocalize these words, but they feel it. They get
exactly.
the energy. Yeah, that's true.
So what we have to do as an adult is to let them know that again, it's okay to have those negative emotions, and we just have to look for ways to express them and to, like, know why are we feeling that way. I know it's kind of hard to, like, make young kids understand, but you can take your time.
That's true. That's
So
right.
yeah, you can take your time. And for kids, you are their role models. As adults, grown-ups, we are their role models. If you observe during playtime, the kids will usually act or role play as a grown-up, right? They will play as a doctor, they will play like an office worker, or like the work of their parents, their own parents. So they act as if they act how their grown-ups are acting,
They
like,
copy what they see, yeah.
yes. And maybe that's what we can do. Like, over dinner, you can discuss things, or you can share with your kid how you're doing at work. Like, if something is stressing you at work, you can tell it to your kid. You can share your kid, like, I'm having a hard time at work. Um, I have a lot of things to do, but I have little time. But you know what? This is what I'm going to do.
Yeah, that's,
So
I think that's good. That's really good, to process instead of like to say I'm busy. Instead of saying busy, you say something, you elaborate on it so that they would understand why their parents are very busy, why they don't have time to play with the kid. Yeah, I think that would really um enlighten and bring understanding between the parent and the kid. So you've already touched on some tips on parents, but let's talk about um more on how on why it is important to cultivate inner peace in children. Why do you think this is a very important thing for kids to start at a very young age? Cultivating inner peace.
I think, as I mentioned already a while ago, that right now is actually the perfect time because we're going through a pandemic, and people are people are feeling a lot of emotions all at once. And um, it's also helpful for kids at a young age to learn how to regulate these emotions, because also grew as they also grow up, especially during their teenage years, those are the times that hormones are raging and they are feeling a lot of emotions. And if they know at a young age how to regulate those kinds of emotions, they will they'll be able to express them in ways that are not harmful to themselves and to, also of course, other people.
Okay, so how do you think parents and other teachers can help support learning peace? You've already shared maybe two or three tips on that, but do you have other tips for parents and other teachers, especially for parents now? Because right now, you mentioned that we're in a pandemic and the kids are learning online rather, and parents have to be really hands-on to their kids, to the kid education of their kids. What are some tips that you think would really help parents support the kids in learning peace?
I would just like to share a challenge that I had, because this is this is in relation to this is, I think, something that teachers can relate to, that during during when we were in a physical classroom, um, whenever there's a kid who's crying, it's easy for us to comfort them because you can just hug them, pat them on the back, try to caress them. But right now, it was really hard for me to do it online, comfort kids, crying kids online.
Oh
So
no! So
what
how do you
what
do it?
what we actually also practice in our class is, whenever a kid is crying, my co-teacher will arrange a breakout room for us. So I had to comfort the kid online, and what I learned from there is for them to allow them to feel that emotion, and most importantly, validate their emotions. So for example, I had a student, he wasn't able to join the game because we needed a secondary device for that game, and he wasn't able to look for one. But this kid is really into those kinds of games, so it was really hard for him.
He got
So
upset about it.
yes, he started crying, so we had to go to the breakout room, and he was really crying. And all I did, I know maybe for some it may sound counterproductive because you're just watching the kid cry in front of the screen. But what I did was I told him it's okay, just cry it all out. I know it's really frustrating because I know you're into those games, and not being able to play the game, I bet it was really hard for you. So he just cried himself out. And then it's okay. So I told him it's okay. Sometimes we feel like nothing is happening, but at some point, that kid just told me, Teacher, I think I feel okay. I feel better. And then I told him, Do you want to, you know what? I saw that a lot of tears came out of your eyes. Maybe you want to replenish that with water. So try to drink water first, or do you want to? You can start offering him when he's calmer. You can start offering him. Do you want to wash your face? Do you want to drink water? And then ask him, "Are you ready to go back to the classroom?" And then if he say no, it's okay. You can take your time in the breakout room. The most important thing is for that kid to feel that you are a safe space. You are a person that he can trust, that he can express those kinds of emotions. A teacher once told me that a, a student remembers you not because of the things that you did in class or the activities that you did in class, but that student will remember you with how you made them feel. So make them feel that you are someone that they can trust. Make them feel that you are their safe place. I had to make sure that I I had to make sure that I'll be able to fulfill that, even to the point that I had to tell the carer of the kid that, Ate, it's okay. Let's just let him cry. Because sometimes, as I mentioned, and we both experienced this, na we're forced to fix the situation at the moment.
Exactly. Yeah, that's true. Stop crying.
Yeah.
My parents would say that to me when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's true.
That the kid will think that crying is a bad thing when actually it's not. I even had a student. He he got mad to his classmate because his classmate beat him to this game. So he said that, Teacher, I don't think I'll be able to talk to him anymore, ever again. I was like, wow, that's a really negative emotion coming from him, because ever again. So you're really ending your friendship just because of what happened. So I had to ask him again. So you can try to ask or give their words back to them, so they will know the extent, or the extent of what they're saying,
Yeah, so
or
you can
try.
reflect back on it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I asked him, really? Not ever? Even when you're in grade one already or in grade two already, you're not ever gonna talk to your classmate again? So he realized that, oh wow, grade one, grade two. So he then answered back that, teacher, maybe I need 11 days. Just give me time and space. I don't
That's
know
so
where he
cute.
I don't know where he got that 11 days, but you know what?
Adorable.
Maybe that's really what the kid needs. Just give him that um just give him those 11 days, or and maybe even before that 11th day he's okay already. He's feeling better already. So, more than fixing the situation, give them time. Because even us adults, diba? Even us adults, we need time to, we need, we even ask people around us to give us time and space
That's true.
to process our emotions. So we should also give that to kids. And for teachers, I know sometimes it's another work for us to give time for kids because you have a lot more kids in the classroom
Yeah,
than this kid that is having a negative emotion. And I know we've been through a lot of students already that sometimes we know this kind of attitude already. But for teachers, I think the most important thing to remember is to never assume. Never um never assume things that this kid is trying to get attention. The reason why he's doing this is because he's trying to get attention. We I know we have encountered so many kids already that we sometimes think that we know how each of their minds works already. We tend to categor- categorize them and put them in stereotypes. We're not perfect. And we sometimes even put labels on them. Those may be true, but it will never solve the problem.
yeah, that's very true.
I suggest that you treat the situation as it is. Repeat what the kid is saying. Don't reword it. Because sometimes we try to reword things, for because we think that we're helping them express themselves. But sometimes what they said is actually just what they meant. You can repeat what they say to confirm, and yeah, most of the time what they say is really just what they mean and nothing else. Sometimes we think na they hate this person, this kid already, this classmate, but actually it's not. So again, take your time as mentioned, and again, at the end of the day, it's not about fixing the problem of having those negative emotions. What's important is that we want our kids to know that we are their safe spaces, that they can express their emotions with us, and we are someone that they can trust, that we will help them process those emotions.
That's really, really nice. Thank you, Chels. I really appreciate your sharing on giving a kid time because that's really important. And I think that that's something that we need to reflect on. Even as adults, we need to give ourselves time, to
Yeah,
process our feelings,
maybe 11 days
especially.
also, right?
That's true. Especially it's the pandemic, and sometimes even me at work, I'm doing business as usual.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes that's not how it should be because you need to give yourself time to process anxiety, the negative feelings that you feel at home about the pandemic and everything else. So really giving time to kids and even to adults is a very good reminder to everyone. So thanks so much for that. So before I let you go, I'll just give maybe one last question. Do you hope to see more peace teachers in preschool and maybe even in basic education
So I
in your
think,
school perhaps, or maybe even out
mhm,
of your school? Yeah.
mhm. I think um, a lot of schools are starting peace studies already, or trying to incorporate peace studies in their curriculum already. Because when I started developing the peace curriculum in our school, the curriculum that was given to me was from the United States. So I had to look for peace curriculum that's being adopted here in the Philippines. It's still, I think it's still starting to, because when I reached out to um, some peace organizations here in the Philippines, um, they're still looking for teachers to build that curriculum, especially in, I think, in public schools.
I think so too. I think they're still working on the curriculum in depth ed
Mm-hmm.
because there is a memorandum to include peace studies in depth ed and even in CHED. That's why we have peace studies in college. But I think that ed is just starting in public
Mm-hmm.
schools. Um, so yeah, but so it would really be nice to see more peace teachers like yourself. Um, yeah. Maybe one last question. How do you think? This is really the final question. I promise. I keep following up with another question. I wonder how did teaching peace influence your own inner peace, and perhaps even your other teachers, your co-teachers on their own inner peace.
Um, Actually, as a peace, when I started teaching peace, I had to revisit our subject in college. But also, it was a reminder for me when I started to become when I started to be that peace teacher. When people saw me as the peace teacher in school, and the parents also saw me as the peace teacher, it was a reminder for me to also look after myself. That um
You have to embody what you're teaching, basically,
yeah,
isn't it?
that I had to, yeah, again, look after myself, and I cannot share what I don't have. So I had to I had to also um make sure that I love myself, that I know how to recognize my emotions, my patterns, and even to the point that I had to consult with a life coach just to make sure that I'm looking after myself.
Oh, that's really good.
So
That's really
it was win-win, not naman win-win, pero it was beneficial on each side. So, and I did yoga. I haven't practiced yoga before.
really just for so you
Parang,
learned yoga for
parang
class.
I just, I did one class, and then after that, I wasn't um, consistent with yoga, and I would do yoga on my own also, in using YouTubers doing yoga. But the practice of it, I had to learn it actually with the kids.
Oh, that's so nice. So you really learn a lot
Mm-hmm.
being a peace teacher. That's a really, really nice thought to end our conversation, I mean, today. Thank you so much, Chelsea, for your wonderful sharing. I really do appreciate the time that you've given and your wonderful stories. I really had fun hearing your stories about your students. And thank you so much for joining our future classroom. We hope that you enjoyed our conversation today, and we'll see you again next time.
Thank you.
Teaching peace to kids allows them to learn how to understand themselves and other people better. It reinforces self awareness, empathy, respect, and forgiveness, among others. Chelsea also shared how learning about inner peace as kids can teach them to better regulate their feelings as teenagers and adults. She highlights the importance of validating and allowing kids to convey what they are feeling. That's why it is essential to give time and space for kids to express and process their emotions. At the end of the day, the most important thing we can do to teach peace to our kids is not to resolve conflict or change a negative emotion to a positive one, but rather it is that we ensure to be someone that our kids can trust to fully express themselves. That's it for today. Thank you so much for joining us. This has been your friend, Teresa Chua. See you again next week, only here in a sacred space, our peaceful classroom.